Hi, welcome to Astrology for Gan Traders. My name is Olga. Now I'm going to start 2013 with looking at first trade dates and charts and how we can look at them astrologically in terms of transits to these natal charts and how that makes a difference to what you can expect for the company. So let's have a look. This is a quote from Gann regarding US Steel. He wrote, "The dates when companies are incorporated and the dates when stocks are first traded in on the New York Stock Exchange or other exchanges causes them to make tops and bottoms at slightly different dates for seasonal changes. For example, United States Steel was incorporated on February 25, 1901 and began trading on the New York Stock Exchange on March 28, 1901. This is why steel makes so many important changes in trend in the month of February and March." So these are the natal charts. If you've never seen an astrological wheel before, this is what we look at. Basically, it's a snapshot of where the planets were in the heavens on that day. Okay, so this for an astrologer is like the beginning. So again, I often says if you have the right beginning, you will know the end. So the beginning for an astrologer is a birth chart, and we use these positions of the planets as a point to as a reference point from which we make predictions. Okay, and inside here we have all the natal aspects. Now, the actual first day of trade on the 28th of March is one I actually do prefer for US Steel. Basically, I find that their first trade dates, because there's so much emotion behind it in terms of the public, and it's a listing date, I believe they have more impact, and they have, in essence, their energy has more importance. But everyone has their preference, and the only way you can really find that for yourself is to analyze both, look back and see which one of these degrees gives you more information. Okay, so that's the first trader. Now have a look at, this is important because the Sun on the 28th of March is actually at 7 degrees of Aries. Okay, the Moon is at 24 degrees of Cancer, and Mars is important because this US Steel is Mars is a ruler of steel, so we were looking at that symbolically as an important point in the chart as well. And also at the time in 1901, we know that Jupiter, Saturn, in terms of their synodic, they were both in Capricorn. This is when their conjunction in Capricorn was happening. So over, in terms of long cycles, long periods of cycles, that's going to be important. So let's have a look at using timing solution. You can get annual cycles for any stock. And this is the one for US Steel. Basically, an annual cycle is the Sun going through the zodiac, and you can see, remembering that the natal Sun was at 7 degrees of Aries, you can see how in this point, after that point, the trend goes down quite dramatically, and then it ends up pretty much in the Libra section, which is actually, remembering, that's 180 degrees after, so it's a square to itself. Okay, the Sun forms at 180 and we get a low in that area. Now, basically, this is what you can do with the Gann Box. Also, is using the first trade date instead of maybe the equinox or whatever you're using, and then run the box on that, and basically you have like a birthday Gann Box or a seasonal Gann Box for the actual stock, which makes it very personal. It's not some general thing that people can put these Gann Boxes everywhere, but no, we want to know exactly from that time that it was born, and we want to run aspects terms of 45 degrees. So each one of these is 45. This is the trine, which is 120. The opposition, so the midpoint of the Gann Box comes in time and price, so that gives us 180 degrees in both. And at the moment we've got price trying to get through this 50% zone. We know Gann talks about that being a hard point to get through, so we're looking at that at the moment. I think it's a little bit over now. So this is how we can use some of Gann's tools with more advanced tools, but having the knowledge of how to work with them makes them a lot more efficient and powerful. So I'm going to have a look at something else. Now I'm just going to look at the current USD. Unfortunately, I don't have historical data that I can look back into the past. Now if you do have some and you're happy to share it with me, please send it to me. I only have back to 1996, but what we can look at basically is how can we use the natal chart to give us information. And what I've done is created a simple model which is basically giving me information about the transits to the natal positions, and the little curve on the bottom actually gives me positive or negative energy according to transits. Okay, so let's have a look down here. If I just look in this pocket here, we can see there's quite a bit of negative energy. So if I just click on, maybe let's have a look at that low there, we can go up into the natal chart up here and have a look at what was happening. And you can see at the time clearly what was happening. You could see Saturn was transiting at the time. Saturn was exactly at 8 degrees of Aries, so that was conjunct the natal sun, if you remember. Okay, so we have this square, and at the same time Jupiter was in square to that. So the Jupiter-Saturn square creating to the natal sun. Okay, so that's one thing. So that would have, because it's Saturn, obviously it's going to last for a little bit, quite a bit of time. So thinking about that, if you know anything about astrology, you know what's happening currently. There's a lot of energy happening in this degree of cardinal, which is around actually 8 degrees. So you can see why. If we look, if I bring that back to screen, we've had, if we add, now if we know Saturn cycles approximately 30 years, if we half that, so to get its opposition, we know that in 2011 Saturn was going through Libra, which is in opposition. Okay, but at the same time we've had a lot of energy happening around that early cardinal. Like if I click onto here, let's just have a look what's happening in here. You can see that at the time, I mean, it's a little bit past there. So earlier in the year, and maybe the end of 2010, we had Saturn going complete opposite. But look at what's been happening. Remember, the planet of sudden changes and revolution, Uranus brings in change, is exactly, that's been going on exactly on conjunct the natal sun. But we've had Pluto also square. Okay, now on this particular date the sun was also in the picture, so we had like a grand square or T-square in there, which is like a midpoint structure. But at the same time, all that time Saturn's been doing an opposition to the natal sun. Okay, so this is how you prove to yourself what becomes important in the natal chart. Okay, so at the moment we've had also another way you can look at it is by putting on a horizontal ephemeris, which basically is what cosmobiologists use. And what I've done here, I've highlighted the natal, the horizontal lines are all the natal positions of the first trade date. You can see this one I've made a little bit thicker because that's the sun. I want you to see that these slower moving planets, when they cross to the sun, they're going to cause changes in trend quite dramatically that last a long time because they're very slow moving. Okay, and if you go back to when this low here, why it's my indicator showing so much negative energy, you can see that at the time Saturn was also on the sun, transiting the sun. Jupiter was there as well, but they were square one another, so they were creating a square to the sun. Okay, so this is a form of analysis you can do, and you can really anticipate in terms of energy for the stock like you would do for yourself on an individual basis. You can do exactly the same for stocks, and that's what makes it so exciting, having that astrological knowledge. Okay, thank you for listening. My website, if you don't know already, is astrologyforgantraders.com.au, and my upcoming seminars and workshops for 2013 on 23rd to 24th of March in Melbourne, Australia, and 18th, 19th of May in New York City with Bill Meridian. Hope to see some of you then. Thank you for listening.